Welcome back, Pygamers. In this episode, we're going to be looking at colours. Colours in the computer world are slightly different to what we were taught in school. If you cast your mind back, you'll remember the primary colours to be red, blue, and yellow. And you could make whatever colour you needed from those. A modern computer, on the other hand, combines red, green, and blue to make colours, and then changes the intensity of those primaries to create a pixel. Let me show you what I mean with a little Pygame script which simulates zooming in on a computer's pixels. What you should be able to see is vertical lines of red, green and blue. This image probably wasn't the best image to choose because there's hardly any intense blue in it, so it's difficult to see. But if I zoom in even further, then you should be able to see around the eye a fleck of blue there. So what's going on? Well, our eyes only see a finite level of detail, and the further back from an object we are, the less detail we see, and a computer monitor takes advantage of this. The pixels are small enough so that our eyes can't see the individual red, green and blue intensities, but instead we see a combination of the three. You can test this by pausing the video here and moving as far away as possible from your screen. The further back you go, the clearer the image becomes. So let's now look at how we can use Pygame to create colourful shapes. In the previous video, we saw how simple shapes like rectangles and circles are drawn to the display surface, so I'm not going to go into detail on shape creation, but rather how you can choose the colour your shape will be displayed in. In Pygame, colours are defined similarly to list variables, but instead of using list, it uses tuples and are structured between brackets. If we look at the list of defined colours in this script, the first is fuchsia, which is a type of purple. I copied the same list of colours into this table to make the values clearer to see. The first value in our colour tuple represents the intensity of red, the second green, and the third blue. The value of the intensity can range from 0, which is the darkest, to 255, which is the brightest. So in fuchsia, it has the highest intensity of red and blue. And we all know that red plus blue makes purple. Well, fuchsia. The second colour in the table is purple. And the same as fuchsia, it uses the same colours, red and blue, but this time the intensity values are at the midpoint, so half as bright as fuchsia. If we go to the bottom of the list to black and white, we see white is made up of all three colours at the maximum intensity, and black uses no colours at all. So let's now look at how these predefined colours fit into our Pygame draw functions. So you should, if you've seen my previous video, recognise that this function, it draws a rectangle. This parameter here is what we're interested in because it defines the colour of the rectangle. Here we're going to be using the predefined variable orange, which you can see at the top here. By using the orange variable, it passes the red, green and blue values to the function automatically. However, in the line below, we're still using the colour orange, but passing to the rect function as an undefined tuple. So let's run the script and see what it does. As predicted, it places an orange square on the display surface. As mentioned previously, we can define colours dynamically, meaning we don't need to define the colour beforehand. And in the next script, I'll show you what I mean. In this line of code, instead of using the name of a colour, we're simply calling the variable RGB because it literally represents red, green and blue values. And instead of defining static values, we're going to randomly generate them. Remember, the intensity of red, green and blue have values between 0 and 255. So we need to tell the randint function to create values for each of the colours within that range. We then pass the randomly generated RGB variable to the rect function to be drawn onto the display surface. These 4 lines create random values for the x, y, width and height of the rectangle to be displayed. So let's run the script and see if it does what we predict it will. Brilliant! Randomly coloured rectangles. Anyway, so that's the end of another tutorial. I hope you've learned something new and I hope to see you next time, where we'll be looking into drawing images to the display surface. Exciting! Remember, all of my scripts can be found in my Google Drive folder and you'll find the link in the video's description. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions then leave a comment and I'll try to answer it the best I can.